Choose between compromise or war. Those were the words from an Iranian general yesterday, directed at the President of the United States. Iran's military just issued America an ultimatum. They threatened to strike Israel. They promised to target every single U.S. base in the Middle East. They told Washington to evacuate the entire region. The Navy's response? Admiral Caudle, the Navy's highest-ranking officer, had 4 words. We overmatched them significantly. In the next few hours, America and Iran will sit down in Oman for what could be the last chance at diplomacy. If these talks fail, we may be witnessing the opening moves of a war that could reshape the Middle East. Here's what's really happening, why Iran just made a catastrophic miscalculation. On February 5th, 2026, IRGC General Hossein Dahigi stood before cameras and delivered a message that would have been unthinkable just months ago. When Americans threaten to attack us, they should know our first target would be the Zionist entity. It is well within the range of our missiles. It is America's weak spot in the region. But he wasn't finished. Then came the ultimatum. If America wants to go to war with us, it should evacuate all its bases in the region and leave altogether. This is our objective. Our main goal is to drive America out. Now, Iran has made threats before. For decades, they've promised death to America while carefully avoiding direct confrontation with U.S. forces. But something changed. The internal situation in Iran has become desperate. Since December, nationwide protests have rocked the country. Some estimates put the death toll from the government's brutal crackdown at 30,000 people. The economy is in freefall. The Iranian rial has collapsed to basically nothing. And satellite imagery shows something terrifying. Iran is burying the entrances to its nuclear facilities. The same entrances that were exposed during last year's Operation Midnight Hammer, the B-2 Spirit strikes that crippled Iran's nuclear program, are now being covered with earth. They're not doing this for fun. They're preparing for what comes next. 12 hours after General Dahigi's threats, America's highest-ranking naval officer stood before hundreds of sailors at Naval Support Activity, Naples, Italy. Admiral Daryl Caudle, the chief of naval operations, was asked about Iran's threats. His answer was direct. Although I don't take Iranian posturing lightly, U.S. forces overmatched Iran's threats significantly when it comes to capabilities. He pointed to Operation Midnight Hammer, last year's strikes that demonstrated exactly what America could do. The U.S. bombing of Iranian nuclear facilities in June was evidence of the American military's capability to do things on that order and that scale. He then delivered the most important line. We have a very good approach of providing the President of the United States military operations. Iran knows this. So the fact that we have that type of capability is a strong deterrent. Let's talk about what overmatch actually looks like. Right now, the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group sits in the Arabian Sea, within striking distance of Iran. The carrier carries F-35C Lightning II stealth fighters, FA-18EF Super Hornets, and EA-18G Growler electronic warfare aircraft. 3 Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers escort the Lincoln. These ships carry dozens of Tomahawk cruise missiles each, the same weapons that have been hitting targets across the Middle East for decades. But that's just the beginning. In total, there are 10 U.S. Navy ships in the Central Command region right now. The Abraham Lincoln and her 3 destroyer escorts, 2 more destroyers in the Persian Gulf, 1 in the Red Sea, 2 in the Eastern Mediterranean, and the buildup continues. Over the past 2 weeks, more than 100 U.S. Air Force cargo jets have streamed into the Middle East. They're delivering Patriot air defense batteries, THAAD missile systems, ammunition, fuel, everything needed to sustain a major operation. The Air Force base at Spangdahlem, Germany is now operating 24/7, a clear sign of the logistics surge underway. F-15E Strike Eagles have deployed to the region, A-10 Thunderbolt II close air support aircraft, EA-18G Growlers, E-11A battlefield airborne communication nodes. 40,000 American service members are now positioned throughout the Middle East, in Qatar, Kuwait, Jordan, and beyond. When General Dahigi says Iran has easy access to American bases, he's not wrong about knowing where they are. Every country in the world knows where American bases are located. What Iran doesn't have is the capability to do anything about it without getting annihilated in return. To understand why Iran's threats ring hollow, you need to remember what happened just 8 months ago. June 2025, Operation Midnight Hammer. The United States launched B-2 Spirit stealth bombers from Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. These aircraft, invisible to radar, capable of striking anywhere on Earth, penetrated Iranian airspace undetected. They hit Isfahan, Fordo, Natanz, 3 of Iran's most protected nuclear facilities. Iran's vaunted air defense systems, the Russian-supplied S-300s, the indigenous Bavar 373s, detected nothing until the bombs were already falling. The strike set back Iran's nuclear program by years. It demonstrated the capability that no other nation on Earth possesses, the ability to strike deep inside defended territory without warning with devastating precision. And here's what Iran learned that night. Their air defenses are not enough. That's why they're burying the entrances to Isfahan right now. The same tactic they tried at Fordo before Midnight Hammer, covering tunnel entrances with dirt to prevent commando raids or bunker buster bombs from penetrating. But here's the problem. The US Air Force has the GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator, a 30,000-pound bomb specifically designed to destroy underground facilities. Dirt doesn't stop it. Concrete doesn't stop it. This weapon was literally built to crack hardened bunkers buried deep underground. Covering your entrances with dirt is like putting a screen door on a submarine. It makes you feel better. It doesn't actually help. And now, with talks scheduled for tomorrow, Iran is facing a choice. Negotiate from a position of extreme weakness or risk a repeat of Midnight Hammer. Except this time, with a president who has made clear he wants the job finished. In just hours, American and Iranian officials will sit down in Muscat, Oman for what many are calling a last-ditch effort to avoid war. U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Senior Advisor Jared Kushner have been shuttling through the region, meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, consulting with Qatar's Prime Minister. The framework on the table, proposed by Turkey, Qatar, and Egypt, includes unprecedented demands. For Iran, 0 uranium enrichment for 3 years. After that, enrichment limited to below 1.5%. All highly enriched uranium, including 440 kilograms enriched to 60%, transferred to a third country. No transfer of weapons and technologies to regional allies. No first use of ballistic missiles. A non-aggression agreement with Washington. This is massive. Iran has never agreed to terms this restrictive, not even under the 2015 nuclear deal. But Secretary of State Marco Rubio has made clear, nuclear issues alone are not enough.
Look, I think in order
for talks to actually lead to something meaningful, they will have to include certain things. The range of their ballistic missiles, their sponsorship of terrorist organizations across the region, the nuclear program, and the treatment of their own people.
And that includes the treatment of
In other words, America wants it all. Iran's position? They've said talks will exclusively discuss the nuclear program and sanctions relief. They refuse to negotiate about missiles or regional proxies. This is the gap that must be bridged in the next 48 hours. And based on what we're seeing, the chances are slim. Israel isn't waiting to find out. Israeli Air Force Commander General Tomer Bar visited an Iron Dome battery yesterday with a stark message. We are on a thin line between preparedness and attack. A dramatic weekend awaits the region. And Israeli officials have confirmed the United States has explicitly warned Jerusalem to refrain from any unilateral military action against Iran during negotiations. But remember what happened last June. Israel attacked Iran even while Washington was negotiating with Tehran. That triggered the 12-day war. No one is sure Israel will stay on the sidelines this time either. Let's do the math on Iran's ultimatum. General Dahigi threatened to strike Israel and every US base in the Middle East. Let's assume Iran actually tried. Iran has roughly 3,000 ballistic missiles of various types. Their most accurate, the Fateh 110 and Desfo missiles, have ranges up to 1,000 kilometers. Sounds impressive, until you realize what they're facing. The Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group alone carries SPY-6 radar systems capable of tracking hundreds of targets simultaneously. SM-6 missiles that can intercept ballistic missiles at ranges of 150 plus nautical miles. Aegis combat systems that have been combat proven against Houthi missile attacks in the Red Sea. Add in land-based Patriot batteries, THAAD systems that just arrived, multiple layers of defenses that have been specifically designed for exactly this scenario. During last year's Iranian attack on Israel, when Iran launched over 300 missiles and drones, the combined US, Israeli, British, French, and Jordanian air defenses intercepted 99% of them. Now imagine trying that again, but this time facing a carrier strike group on full alert, supported by land-based air defenses with F-35 stealth fighters hunting your launch sites and B-2 bombers ready to crater your missile production facilities. That's the math General Dahigi is choosing to ignore. And here's the final piece. Somewhere in the depths of the Iranian Sea, we don't know exactly where because that's the point, there are American submarines. Virginia-class attack submarines with Tomahawk cruise missiles. Potentially Ohio-class guided missile submarines carrying 154 Tomahawks each. Iran's military can't find them, can't track them, can't stop them. When the IRGC says our access to US bases is easy, they're half right. They know where the bases are. What they don't mention is that US submarines have access to their entire coastline, and there's nothing they can do about it. In the next 24 hours, we'll know if diplomacy has a chance, or if the Middle East is headed for another war. President Trump has made his position clear. Speaking at the National Prayer Breakfast yesterday, he said, They're negotiating.
Now,
They don't want us to hit them.
They don't want us to hit them.
We have a big fleet going over there. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt added a warning. While these negotiations are taking place, I would remind the Iranian regime that the president has many options at his disposal as the commander-in-chief of the most powerful military in history. Iran chose to respond with threats, with ultimatums, with promises to drive America from the region. They forgot who they're dealing with. The same military that executed Operation Midnight Hammer in under 24 hours. The same Navy that has maintained freedom of navigation in the Persian Gulf for 40 years. The same force that just captured a dictator in Venezuela without losing a single American life. When Admiral Caudle said America overmatches Iran significantly, he wasn't bragging. He was stating a fact that every intelligence service in the world already knows. Iran told America to choose between compromise and war. If they keep pushing, they may find out that America has already made that choice. The next 48 hours could determine the fate of the Middle East. We'll keep you updated as events unfold. If you want to stay informed on naval operations and breaking military news, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Coming up next, why China is watching these negotiations very, very closely. Because what happens in Oman doesn't stay in Oman. Until then, fair winds and following seas.